All right, you can see all of me. What's going on, Clea? So we're going to go through how to practice getting into the proper golf stance. So this will be the drill that you want to do, and with any practicing that we do, you're going to want to do at least 100 repetitions a day. And your first day, you only need to get 100 in. Doing extra repetitions on the first day is not going to benefit you. The reason for this is because when you do things, new movement patterns, um, you don't. It isn't stored in your brain right off the bat. What happens is when you go to sleep, your mind goes through everything you did that day. So sleep is key for learning, and your mind's going to think to yourself when it sees a repeated motion, well, hey, that must be essential to you know my body's survival. You know, the person who I am, it must be integral to my survival. Because why else would you do something over and over again if you didn't need it? So your brain doesn't know the difference between survival and just going out and playing golf. So what happens is that first night, after you really start to learn something new, and you're doing your repetitions, after about 100 repetitions, when you go to sleep that night, you will develop a neural pathway. And this will connect three parts of the brain. It's going to be the frontal lobe, the cerebral cortex, and the motor cortex. Or, yeah. So, that's one thing. I've been a minute since I went over that. Yeah. All right. So, anyway, these three things are going to determine, are going to be the parts of the brain that are active when you're first learning something. And this is why it can actually feel overwhelming when you first start learning things. Like the first time you got in a car and you drove it, and the car started taking off, it kind of it scared you a little bit because you're not used to doing that. It's an overwhelming feeling because your frontal lobe's involved in learning new movement patterns. Your brain makes you worried and aware, hyper aware, on purpose. If your mind's not used to doing something, then it wants to make sure that you're aware of this so that you're not going to end up killing yourself while you're doing this thing that you're not used to doing. So that's why your brain behaves that way. So we need to get through that stage and move everything into automation. So you can do it automatically, like walking. We don't think about walking. Actually, if you thought about walking too much, you'd probably end up screwing it up. Or you're brushing your teeth. How many times you brush your teeth? You never messed it up. But if you thought about the mechanics of brushing your teeth, you might poke yourself in the eye if you put too much thought into it. So that's what we want to get to the point with the golf swing, where every piece of the fundamentals of the golf swing, we want to have that learned as if it was brushing your teeth or walking or riding a bicycle, which is the most common. And it's not muscle memory, it's your brain's memory. Your brain is what tells the muscles what to do. The muscles don't learn or remember anything. So it's a misnomer about muscle memory. But I mean, the general thought of muscle memory is correct. Just people use it wrong. Your muscles aren't actually remembering anything. So, 100 repetitions the first night at least. And then if you want to do 150, 200, well, 100 tops first night, because you don't, anything you do over 100 is just going to be a waste because you haven't built the neural pathway yet. Once the neural pathway is built, then we're working on developing myelin, which is a fatty substance, protein-like substance that covers the neural pathway. It allows your neurons to fire faster. It allows you to be more efficient in doing this activity. And your brain, the more you do something, is like, well, I should make this as efficient as possible for this guy to do this. So that's why they build up the myelin. And then eventually, at the last point of this whole thing, is it's moved into the cerebrum. Wait, I can't remember if it's the cerebrum or the cerebellum. So I will look that up and get back to you on that. That's why I got caught up earlier in the video. There's definitely a motor cortex in the frontal lobe. I can't remember what the third part is. I'll get back to that. I hate messing stuff up like that. But anyway, it'll eventually get moved to the automated part of the brain, and then you will never have to think about the golf swing again. So once we ingrain each piece and then blend them together. So that's why I wanted to let you know ahead of time how really very important it is that you be consistent and work on these things daily and get, at least 100 reps in every day. Because even though you've only been playing for a couple of years, you have to override everything you've done so far. That's not what you actually need to be doing. So not only do you have to do enough reps to ingrain it in your mind, you also have to do enough reps to overpower what you've already ingrained. Which sounds daunting, but in order to do your takeaway, you have to get in your stance. So you get a repetition of getting in your stance when you do a takeaway rep. So you're still building on. So each part of the swing, we're gonna focus on getting to 1,000 reps. So you can take 10 days to do that, or you can take 5 days to do it. But it's got to be over a couple of days because you have to get sleep in for your brain to start developing. But once we get in 1,000 reps of a particular, and these have to be good reps too. They can't be, you can't mess up the reps. So if you find yourself, like when you're starting to do these, and you build up more confidence, you have to double check, videotape yourself or use a mirror. If you use a big length mirror, those can help. I prefer video, even though it's not instant feedback, it's more accurate feedback. You can see everything from all the angles. You can stop or take a look. Yep, doing it right, feels good. Because a lot of times what we feel is not what's actually happening. When we go check on the video, I'm like, wow. I was doing the takeaway the first time, I really thought that I was going really far out. I was actually turning and it was, perfectly right there. But I felt like I was going really far away from my body because when I first started playing, it was really far in. So that's how my golf swing was originally. So the way things feel, no matter how in tune with our bodies we think we are, is never quite as good as what the reality is of the situation. So don't trust the feel as much as you trust the video. So always double check your work. Make sure that what you're feeling is what you're seeing. And then let's get into the video for the stance. So the first thing that you're going to want to do when you're getting into a golf stance is put your feet exactly underneath your hips. As I explained in this other video, which I'm still trying to get it to upload, the Coach's Eye application is a little difficult with sharing the videos that you do. I have to try to get a hold of them and see, because I got great internet service, but it takes forever and sometimes it doesn't even upload. So, but in that other video I mentioned that our shoulder width and our hip width is not the same for everybody. Some people have much broader shoulders than they have hips. Some people have much wider hips than they have shoulders. So shoulder width apart, complete nonsense. Even though that's probably what every person who's taken golf lessons from a PGA professional has been told. It makes no sense. Your legs are attached to your hips. That's what we're going to base it off of. So right underneath your hip joint, put your feet there, and then toes pointed out. I don't want to see any splaying of the feet. People do this, and they swear that it gets them more power, but really all that this is doing is it's allowing your hips to move more freely. Well, we only want our hips to move so much. If you want to get separation between your shoulders and the hips, you gotta let your hips not move as much. So people think that they're getting this, huge turn, and they're turning their back, and it's going to do a whole lot for them. Or in all reality, right now, my hips and my shoulders are probably only separated by about 35 degrees. Even though I had this massive 110 degree rotation here, it's mostly hip movement. So you want your feet straight out. This is the way our body was designed. Our body was not designed to be walking and moving like this. So our body's designed feet straight. I promise you, if you have proper posture, you'll have no issues with doing anything in the golf swing with your feet pointed out straight. So once we get that directly underneath, we're about 2 inches outside of that on both sides. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you a solid foundation. If you spread your feet out too much, when you go to rotate and shift your weight, your head's going to start moving. Even though you'll have a really solid base, you're going to start changing your eye levels. It's also going to make it very difficult to get back the other side. So, but if you have too narrow and you go to shift your weight, now you're getting off balance. So you're not going to be able to keep foundation solid. So what works out perfectly is about 2 inches outside of directly over the hip. Or we'll hip directly over the top of the ankle joint. And it's going to look a little funny because I'm a little knock-kneed, but that's really not going to matter so much. So about 2 inches. Now, what you want to do is there's a little muscle that runs down the outside of your leg, the calf muscle here. If you contract that muscle, it's going to turn your foot inward. And this is really going to anchor you into the ground. So, once you get your feet in the right position, contract those muscles. That's going to turn your feet in without pulling your knees together. You don't want to lose the separation between your legs. So then you're going to feel really grounded too. And then stand up as tall as you can and get your shoulders rolled back. You're going to have nice flat back, shoulders back. It's going to feel like you're trying to plug your fingers into the ground. And then at this point, if you have too much rounding in your back, it's stuck in the gut, pull it in toward your spine. This will flatten everything out in the back. So, 2 inches outside, roll the feet in, military posture, fingers into the ground. And then what you're going to do, which you do really well, is drop your hips back behind you by hinging at the hip, hinging at the waist. You're going to do this with your knees locked until it gets to the point where your toes are going to start coming up off the ground. And then once the toes come up off the ground, and you feel like you're going to start ready to lose your balance, just relax your knees. You don't want to bend your knees too much because that's going to take the weight. If you bend your knees too much, it's going to take all the weight off of your butt and put it into your quads. So if you bend your knees too much, now all of a sudden you feel all your weight's being bared right here. You want it in your butt. The glutes are made for holding the body up. And that's what we want to use them for, to support the lower body from the hips down is mostly just supporting the rotation around the body, giving us the strongest base possible. Now, as far as weight distribution goes, you do not want to be in the balls of your feet. You want to be over your ankles. And then it's taking the hips back until the toes come up and then just relaxing. that's going to get the weight right over your ankles. But you'll hear a lot of instructors telling people to put the weight on the athletic stance, shoulder width apart, weight of the balls of your feet. It's nonsense. That's perfect if you are trying to explode off, take off running in one direction, or if you want to jump. Perfect for that. But the thing with golf is we are in a static position trying to hit a static target. So even a baseball swing is not perfect because you're trying to hit a moving target. So you can't even translate baseball or softball swings to the golf swing. The golf swing is actually more like throwing a baseball than it is like hitting one, which I'll explain to you that when we get to that part. That'll be in the downswing section of our lessons, which is quite a ways away. But I'll explain all that to you for sure. All right, so we're going to get our width here, roll the ankles in, and then knees bent or knees locked in and don't let your chin drop either. Make sure that you're bending to look down at the ball, not dropping your head. So toes are come up, relax. Okay, so now I'm in this position here. I roll back, let the left arm come down so that it's directly underneath the left shoulder. And then what you're going to do is you're going to bump your weight to the left and then bring your right hand in. So now I have this a little bit of axis tilt away from the ball. And this right here is the golf stance. You want the ball to be right off the inside of your ear, or if you got a logo on your shirt, right here. The reason for that is the longest your club's going to be in this arc of your swing, providing that you shift your weight to your front foot in the downswing, is going to be directly underneath the left arm. That's going to be the deepest point in the ground that you're going to hit. And seeing how we want to hit the ball before we hit the divot, we need the ball a couple inches behind that point. So that's going to get you to compress the ball by having the ball ear, logo, nipple, whatever you want to say. This area here is where you want the ball at. So that way when you go through your swing, you're hitting ball first and then the ground. And then you'll see this from this angle here too. So we get the width, roll the ankles in, military posture, suck the gut in, let the hips drop back, relax the knees, let your arms come down, and then bump the hip, and there it is. Now, if you're having issues with a flat back, what you can do, this is the whole reason why I brought the club, because you can practice getting into your stance without a club. But what you can do is put your club in the back of your head. This is great for people who drop their chin. So club in the back of your head, and there should be 3 contact points. Back of the head, between the shoulder blades, and on your butt. So when you're bending down in your stance, if you at any point lose contact with your butt, you're in between your shoulder blades in the back of your head, chances are you are either dropping your head or curving the lower back too much so that your butt sticks out, which you do a little bit. Or you're rounding your shoulders too much, and then that makes your in between your shoulder blades bulge out. So those are the 3 things that particular part of the drill fixes right there. So if you aren't seeing it exactly on video as you are, you're not seeing it on video as you are as you're trying to do it, then use the club. You definitely want to try to do these motions with the least amount of tools and training aids as possible. I don't like training aids. Most of the training aids, what they do is they restrict movement, and then as soon as you take them off, they're worthless because you just go back to doing what you're doing before it was there. Now, feedback, like the Smash Bag, which I saw you have, which is fantastic. I love it. I have one myself. That's an instant feedback tool. Those are the ones you want. The ones that, if you do it wrong, it tells you they did it wrong without restricting any of your ability to move. Those are the types of things you want if you feel the need to have training tools. Sorry about that. So this is what you're going to do for your getting into the stance. You're going to do 100 repetitions of just walking up. Like, you can do your pre-shot routine before too, because the only thing really the pre-shot routine's good for is really just clearing your mind. If you're using it for anything else, then it's kind of silly because there's no fundamental purpose for the pre-shot routine other than just by the time you walk up and address the ball, all your thinking should be done. You're thinking pre-shot like before you walk up to your ball. Once you address the ball, you should just be, 1 or 2 breaths where you think about nothing but your breath. Yes. Go. so that's another mental tool to help you just focus on the breath. And once you get good at that, it'll help you out a lot. But when you're doing this at first, if you don't need the club for helping with the back, leave it for now because it's easier to do the body movements first without the club, because the weight of the club, believe it or not, will throw you off. And until you get the movements down where you can introduce the club, then that'll make things, this will become a lot more important later on as we're going through movements with the club than it is in the stance. Stance is not such a big deal because we're not actively trying to move the club. We're just using it to hold on to. So when you're going to do your, like say your little pre-shot routine here, walk up to the ball, address it, underneath the hip joints, 2 inches out, roll the, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but roll the ankles in. Military posture, suck the stomach in, drop your hips back, toes are coming up, relax the knees, let your left arm down, straight down from the shoulder, and then bump the weight, tilt, bring the arm in, and there it is. And just get up, take a step back, hop in, and do it again. And eventually, you'll get to the point where I just hopped in there and did it. The best test for when you're getting ready to move on is to have your boyfriend talk to you while you're doing it. If you can complete the movement while having a conversation about, say, breakfast, and you don't screw up at all, and you can do that consistently, just have a carry on conversation with talking to somebody about the weather, and you just hop into it, then you're good to go. Because that means that you're on the brink of being able to have it automated when you can do it without thinking. And then just you need to keep on it to ingrain it in. But once you can do it without thinking, which usually happens around 1,000 repetitions, then we can move on and stack something on top of it. But it's going to take about 3,000 to 5,000 depending on your age and the elasticity of your brain for being able to permanently ingrain it. You can temporarily ingrain things with about 1,000 reps, but it's going to take 3 to 5 for each section. This is why it takes 3 months. This is doing at least 1,000 repetitions per week. So that's the goal, and that's what we're going to be shooting for if you can make it work. But we need at least 100 a day. So 10 days maximum per section. So that's how you want to get into your stance. If you are having issues with the tilting, the axis tilt away from the ball, get down in your stance, get everything ready to go, and then put this on your chest, bump your weight over, and you bump the weight over, and you just see a lot. How I already described about the muscle in your leg. If there's any point in time you're confused about something, I will be able to answer the how and the why. How we do it by movements of muscles, and why we do it as far as how it relates to the golf swing. Any instructor that you ever have, if they can't answer those two questions, you need to find somebody else because they can get you hurt. And your golf swing is not going to get any better. An instructor should always be able to at least answer those two questions without saying, well, because Tiger does it this way, or because, well, just watch me do it. They should be able to actually verbally describe to you how to do things. And that's what I have a big problem with instructors who feel the need to touch people all the time. Because if you're touching your student, one of three things is happening. Either you lack the knowledge of what it is you're trying to teach, or you lack the verbal skills in order to relay the message that you know, or you're a pervert. If you can't describe to somebody, people will learn, and this is where you want to relate to your student as well. I'm going to be asking you questions about your personal life because I want to get to know you as a person, because it's going to help me relate to you about how something might feel. Like, if say you skip rocks as a kid. Well, knowing that you skip rocks as a kid, it'd be really easy to explain to you how the downswing works, because I can be like, well, think about it like you're skipping rocks. You're going to shift your weight back. You're going to have your arm up here. The rocks are ready to rumble. And then you're going to shift your weight. Because when we throw things, we do it naturally. When you throw a baseball, you open up the people want to use the arm in the golf swing way too early. They're just like, and then and they turn. So obviously the ball's not going to go anywhere doing that. But when we throw, we open up and the shoulders come, and then the arm comes through. Well, the golf swing's like skipping a rock. You're not going to take a big step. Usually keep your feet planted when you skip a rock. But then you shift your weight, start opening it up, and then this is what the golf swing looks like. So, knowing these types of things about your student helps out a lot. A lot of golf instructors, they just don't know how to relate to people. They just don't know how to teach the material. And like you said with your boyfriend, with him not being able to convey the message to you as well, this is a problem with the PGA Tour instructing golfers. Because in order to get PGA licensing, you have to pass a player's test. So you might have somebody who's very, very passionate about golf and is very knowledgeable and very capable of teaching, but can't get a PGA license because they might have a physical handicap that keeps them from being able to compete and being able to pass the test. So you have to be careful who you take information from, because the internet and even instructors at golf courses is littered with people who play really well who just don't know how to teach other people how to do it. That's where people like myself come in. When it comes to playing golf, I'm above average, but your boyfriend kicked my ass. If he's a scratch golfer, he'd beat me up. But I'm going to get there, and as I continue to get more and more healthy and be able to put more into my swing at that point, eventually I'll get there. I'm just not there yet. But golf is everything to me. It saved my life. It started getting me healthy again. It gave me a purpose in life too. So when it comes to somebody being serious, who's not just looking to look at your ass, you made a good decision to come to me, because that's what I'm all about. As beautiful as you are, and as attracted to you as I may be, that's not my goal. It's not important to me. I can find a woman in just about anywhere. I don't need to do that through work. So, I'm not worried about that at all. I'm glad that you're not. I'm glad you got a good vibe. Because we're going to do really well. And at this point, I am rambling quite a bit. But by Thursday, by Thursday, I would like to see a video of you doing these drills and make sure that it's right, so that we can, really get the work in. Because most of it's, if you want me to video chat with you while you're doing your repetitions to make sure you're doing it right, I don't mind that at all. We can video chat whenever you want, if you want to, get some work in, and you may be having some doubts in your mind, because I'm great for that. There's not going to be anybody who's going to be a bigger cheerleader for you than I am, and until you start believing in yourself, then you will be, you will be your greatest cheerleader at that point. But yeah, I believe in you a lot, and I know that we can do great things together. So let's just get the work done, get to it, and we will make you a star. I promise you that.